We're going to continue in chapter 15. So can anybody give me like a quick recap of what Abnel taught on last week? So the last verse that Abnel read was John 15, verse 17. This is my command, love each other. So he gave us a new commandment to love each other. Keep that in mind. So now we're going to go into our main text. Keep that 15, 17 in the back of your mind, and I'll read it for us. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason. So the first thing about this text that we need to make sure we know is that it's a prophecy. Jesus right here is prophesying what's about to happen. They hate him, they're going to persecute him, and then after that, they're going to persecute us. They're going to hate us. So it's a prophecy. Now I'm going to break it down verse by verse. We're going to take a look at 18 and 19, and I'll reread that for you guys. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. So Jesus makes a point to say world quite a lot. He's establishing that the world hates you. It's only the world that hates you. And it doesn't just hate us, it hated Jesus. It hated Jesus, and he was literally perfect. He literally lived a sinless life, and they still hated him. That's because the world is sin. It despises everything that isn't sin. Now, looking at that, say you're getting love from the world. You might want to rethink what you're doing. If the world is loving you, you're probably not doing the right thing. And you're going to be tempted to stay in that sinful lifestyle, continue living like that, because sometimes the attention does feel nice, but it's only temporary. You have to stand strong in your faith. You have to turn away from that. Jesus says right here that he pulled us out of the world. And because of that, its love means nothing, and its hatred means even less than nothing. So if its hatred means nothing, then we don't have to worry about it. With that, we'll take a look at what he says in verses 20 through 22. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They would treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. So that gets a little bit tricky there. It's still kind of straightforward. One important thing to note here is Jesus uses a quote. This is one of the only times in John that we see Jesus use a quote, an exact quote, word for word. So it's a pretty important saying. And it's saying that the way they treat him is the way they'll treat us. You know, they're not going to treat us better just because we are his servants. No, they're going to treat us the same because we are his servants. So you might see that, oh, they're going to persecute me because they persecuted him. But another important point to that is if they're a follower of Christ, then they're going to treat you the way they would treat Christ. So we can stand strong as one church together. To look more at the persecution, it is talking about the persecution today. It's a prophecy. But closer to its time, we see the persecution in Acts. In Acts, there's a lot of quotes to Saul from a voice from heaven saying, "Why do you persecute me?" And it's very important that it says me. That voice is coming from heaven, it's saying me. That me is all of us with God. It's our connection to God. Saul isn't persecuting directly to heaven, but because he's persecuting us on the world, it's also a persecution against heaven. So we have that connection with God. And we kind of get our answer for why does he persecute them. And that's because they've rejected God. They've been blinded by the world. They don't see their sins. But they should, because Jesus came as the light of the world to cure that blindness and help them turn away from their sin. And they still rejected him. There's a quote from a commentary on the Gospel of John by a scholar, F.F. Bruce, a lot smarter of a guy than I am. It should be up on the projectors, and it says, "They reacted to his love with hate, just as when he came to them as the light of the world, they chose darkness." So it's referencing earlier in John chapter 3. When he came to them as the light, they could have picked the light. They didn't. They chose the darkness. They chose to ignore their sins. They thought it was easier, but they lost out on God. Now let's look in verses 23 through 25 at how Jesus finishes this. "Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason." So the first thing he does right there is he reaffirms that him and the Father are the same. And that those Jews that are rejecting him, thinking they're following God, are also rejecting God. They're picking their own ways. They're putting their words in God's mouth to follow what they want to follow instead of what they should be following. And he continues that he taught them verbally how to follow God by teaching in the temples and many other places. And he showed them examples of living by the Spirit and his power to turn them away from sin. He performed all those miracles to show his power, to show that he was God. But they still turned away from him. They said that that power was from demons. Even the demons knew that he got his power from God. But no, these people that are trying to follow God aren't really trying to follow God. They're trying to follow what they want God to be. And Jesus establishes that in verse 25. This is to fulfill what is written in their law. Their law. Not God's law, their law. They're following these scriptures that they want to follow to put it in different context. And even those that they picked are strictly, like that they're trying to follow strictly, are prophesying about their rejection of them. So they're trying to put this in a different context. It can't be put in a different context, and he's using it against them. Your law that you picked is even going against you right now. That you're hating me for no reason. They hated him for no reason, just like their law said. And they still didn't believe him. So now that we know what the text means, how can we apply it to our lives? The first point I have is to love instead of hate. We already know that the world is built up of hate, that it is sin. So if we respond with hate, we're not doing anything. The only productive response we can have is to show love. And it's really hard sometimes. It can be really, really hard. But you have to do it. The easy way isn't the way to do it. We have to forgive, like Jesus did. Again, it can be really hard, but we have to do it. It's the only productive response. And why act like the world? Jesus literally tells us that he pulled us out of that life. We don't have to be like them. We don't have to conform to their rules. We're out of there. He pulled us out. And what more than Jesus commanding us to love each other? John 15, 17, love each other. He told us to. Another way we can apply this is to spread the gospel. If we're going to face hatred for it, we might as well make the most of the attention. They're going to give us attention. We can spread the gospel with love, with faith. And maybe the person you're talking to, trying to share the gospel to, is rejecting it, but other people are listening. Maybe, they'll take a deeper thought to what you're saying, go to church, find God. You never know. And even if the person seems like they're rejecting you, maybe they're still looking for that answer. Maybe they're not verbally putting it, but they're still thinking about it. If you're spreading the gospel with love and faith, knowing that God can work in everyone regardless of who they are, then it can work. It worked with Paul. It worked with many others. But you have to have faith when you're sharing it. And this is said in the New Testament a couple of times. If we go back to my Romans teaching, Romans chapter 10, verse 9 says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile." So you share it with faith, share it with love, and the power of God works for everyone. Everyone can believe. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8 says, "So do not be ashamed of the testimony about our Lord, or of me, his prisoner. Rather, join in me in suffering for the gospel by the power of God." So we know we're going to be persecuted against, but still, we're not ashamed of our testimonies. We're not scared to share it. We're proud of it. We're sharing it with faith and love. And these are all pretty straightforward things that you've probably heard before. Even this third point I have for you, work like Christ. They can hate you all they want, but if you live your life dedicating your work to Christ, doing good, sharing the gospel, helping others, how can they hate you for helping others? It won't make any sense. They'll try it, but it doesn't make any sense. It means nothing. Their hatred means nothing when you're living with Christ.